Got up out of bed with all this bullshit in my head. Guess there's something someone said got me deep under my skin. I know I'm not the type to make mistakes on someone else's terms. Took a chance, got messy, but somewhere there's still a lesson learned.
There's nothing wrong with me.
Hey, hey,
It's all in what you see.
hey, hey,
There's nothing wrong with me.
hey, hey,
Why can't you let me be?
hey, hey. But I just wanna say it in a way that hasn't played on the radio today, last month, or even yesterday. Take a chance, make mistakes, learn a lot from messy things, enjoy it while you fuck it up. This failure's a prerequisite.
There's nothing wrong with me.
Hey, hey,
It's all in what you see.
hey, hey,
There's nothing wrong with me.
hey, hey,
Why can't you let me be? There's nothing wrong with me. It's all in what you see. There's nothing wrong with me. Why can't you let me be?
Hello and welcome back to the Goat Cave podcast. Today I've got a very, very special guest straight from the UK. We got Ben Murphy. Is that right? I don't know if I pronounce your name right.
No, it's just Ben Murphy. but
Ben Murphy. Oh my god, I can't fucking read, dude. I feel so dumb.
I changed it to stop work checking up stuff on me.
Oh, that's fair. But let's get into these BMX updates. Ben, if you can just kind of pull the mic a little closer to you there. There we go. Let's see how that sounds.
Okay, that's better.
That should be good. Yeah, man. So, Battle of Hastings just happened. Did you see any of that shit?
I saw a couple of bits and pieces. I think the big thing that was going around was Tom Justice Fufanu.
That was fucked, dude. That was like such a crazy giant gap to a Fufanu. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And the thing is that you really never see that kind of gap to Fufanu anymore. Like, that was kind of a really big mid-school trick, but nobody fucks with it anymore.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys, but there's not many. Tom does big Fufanus. Daniel Wiedemeyer, he does big Fufanus. And then there's a couple of guys that I've read into it. My friend Mole, who's been on around the UK, he does Fufanus, but yeah, there's not a huge amount of people doing them these days anymore.
Yeah, it was ridiculous anyways. There was like, that contest is always crazy every single year. Like, there's always so many people that go there and they just absolutely kill it. Like, it's by far the best BMX contest every year, at least in my mind. So I don't know if you follow contests too much, but for me, it's top 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really follow contests too much these days, but I went to one of the Battle of Hastings. I think it was the first one, and the level it was brilliant to watch. It really was. It was like, for the UK scene, nothing like that had been put on in a while, so it was great to see. It was like almost like the indoor version of the old backyard jams, even though now Backyard have started doing a new series of indoor jams that exist in skate parks. So that's another good thing to see in the UK is more high level contests happening that cater for both pros and amateurs. So it's great.
Yeah, I can 100% agree with that. And then, of course, right after the Battle of Hastings, they always host Nora Cup,
Hmm.
which I wasn't really sure if it was going to happen this year because Ride BMX actually kind of quote unquote died last year, and now we have our BMX. So they did Nora Cup, which I was really excited to see that. So I've got the winners here. So for this year, the number one transition rider was Corey Walsh. And for people that don't know, I'm from Kitchener, Ontario, and Corey Walsh grew up in Cambridge area as well as British Columbia, that kind of area. So in Canada, but he has ridden here for years. So it's really cool to kind of see a hometown guy win this. So we got him for number one transition rider. Reader's choice was Boyd Hilder, and he has been like on the rise this year. Do you know who Boyd Hilder is?
Not really. I don't really focus too much on that
So
much BMX these days.
no, that's all good. I think this year Boyd Hilder really stepped his game up. Like he has become a really wide known rider. He's absolutely killing it. I think honestly that if he keeps up with the pace that he's working on, he'll be at the level of Dennis Henderson within only a couple of years. Like he is absolutely killing it.
But I think the key to that is if he won Reader's Choice, he's obviously the guy that the people are enjoying watching. He's exciting. He's new and fresh, and if the readers are voting for him, then there's a reason for it.
Oh, of course, right? And then we got number one women's rider, which was Nina. That was really cool. And I think this is the first year that they did a women's rider like event.
I think it is, yeah, and I think she more than deserves to have gotten that.
Absolutely.
She's done a hell of a lot. I remember seeing Nina in magazines back in the early 2000s. And I've met her quite a few times and, chat every now and again. And she's awesome. So and she's pushed women's BMX in a big way. So, well deserved.
Oh, of course. Yeah, she's 100% killing it this year. And then number one street rider was Jordan Hengo, if you know him at all.
Yeah, I saw his section, that fit, the Holy Fit. And
Yeah,
yeah, that was.
yeah, he's absolutely insane. And then Legend Award went to Matt Hoffman,
My
and
favorite BMXer.
yeah, Matt Hoffman's incredible.
Yeah.
Here's a really cool fact for you. Matt Hoffman actually landed the first 900 in Kitchener.
Oh wow. I didn't know
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, he landed the first ever 900 at the Kitchener Odd, which is a skate park that I go to all the time. But he did it in the actual arena there at a vert contest. I think it was a vert contest.
Probably sponsored by Swatch and.
Yeah, it was way back then, but incredible, man. And to be honest with you, I would have figured that Matt Hoffman would have won the first Legend Award because he's like that's the first person I think of when I think of BMX is Matt Hoffman.
Same, really
He did the first handrail. He did all of this stuff. And I know you guys haven't had internet recently, but I checked out the video that they made for him, and it's really crazy to see because they film him as they're kind of saying that he's the winner, and he doesn't think that he deserves it at all. Like you can literally see him. He's like, "What? Why would you choose me?" Like Matt Hoffman's incredible. This is,
so
of course,
humble.
it's for you.
And he's still he'll take the time out to talk to anybody. And there's so many people that I see to collectors groups and whatever way who are stoked because they've messaged Matt Hoffman and he sent them a signed DVD. Yeah, they'll have bought it off him, but
He still signed it.
Yeah, he still signed it, and it's not like he's making a fortune off doing this. It's just whatever the cost of the DVD is.
Exactly.
Sign it, send it out, and that, and it makes someone's day. I mean, I remember one of the times I met him and I got him to sign. I've got a copy of the Go issue of him doing the. I can't remember whether it's a backflip fakie or a flare. I think it's a flare, and I think it's the first flare.
Yeah.
That's been caught, and the caption is "sickest trick ever." I got him to sign my copy of that, and I was delighted. I met him at the judges booth at the X Games in Barcelona, and I was stoked. So, like, what if I'm not stoked? It's only fair to say that most of the BMXers will be as well.
Well, exactly. So another really cool thing, there's a kid in the States right now that's kind of big in BMX, and he's not like he's just beginning. But the thing is that he's actually an amputee. He's missing an arm, and I think he's from like New York. Like if you know who D Block is from the States, he's like a rider for SC. A lot of what he does is like he hosts these jams where they do like wheelies and shit like that in the States, and he ended up Matt Hoffman sent this kid a bike because the kid didn't have a bike, and he's killing it so far, and it's really fucking cool to see that kind of stuff, right? Like you see a legend like him giving back, and it is kind of like he owns a bike company. He should be doing that, but it's really fucking cool to see that he's doing that because a lot of those companies out there wouldn't have done that, It sucks to say, but a lot of companies are just out there for the money, and I get it. It's a business. No matter what, BMX, if you're a company, you're in it for the money, right? Like, you can be in it for the, like, BMX aspect of things, but no matter what, you're in it to make money. And to see Matt Hoffman, a legend, give this kid a bike, for some reason, it really touched me, man. It was a really interesting thing to see.
It's always good to see something like that, like making BMX happen in different ways for other people, and that's rad. Like, yeah, I mean, people want to make a bit of money in BMX, but there's still plenty out there doing it for the love.
Of course.
By, and that's rad too. And people will give what they can.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's awesome to see people like help other people out like that.
Yeah, I definitely don't mean that in like a bad way.
Oh,
like,
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also in recent BMX news, since I've been gone for about 2 months from the podcast, we have the Vans Pro Cup. So you actually got to ride one of the bowls that they were using for Vans Pro Cup at the Montreal Olympic Stadium.
Yeah. So we got to Montreal. We were staying at a trailer park in the RV, and I took my bike into the city to go ride the Big O. While I was looking for it, we just accidentally happened across, me and my girlfriend Jess, we were walking around, accidentally happened across the bowl that they built for the Vans Pro Cup there. So ended up riding that for a bit. It was good fun. It's obviously, I don't enjoy riding by myself a lot, but got it at this point in time when it's just you and your girlfriend traveling. But yeah, I rode it, enjoyed it, and then it was just awesome to come across it. And I think that's a great thing when you can do that, because quite often you see a skate park being built for an event and it being demolished on the Monday after, and sometimes that happens because you can't build it to full spec or full strength for a weekend contest because the money's not there. But
Yeah.
the fact that they did leave that there and they had a place for it and a permanent place for it was awesome, and it just goes to show still supporting BMX. People are still supporting it. People want it to grow. And was it a BMX or was it a skate contest?
I think it was both, to be honest with you.
But yeah, even still, it just shows the support, so that's awesome.
One thing I definitely got to say about the Big O and Montreal Olympic Stadium is that it has been a legendary spot for years.
Yeah.
If you watch any pro video for the last 10, 15 years, you'll 100% see a clip from it.
Yeah. I first saw it in FBM All Time Low. I think that might have been, I want to say somewhere between 2001 and 3, but closer to 3.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain I saw George Santos do pick it, and that's what I want. I spent between then and last month wanting to pick that. Took me 3 goes to do it because there were skaters there the first 2 times. Pegs didn't go down well, so I just said, yeah, I'll just do cars, and came back on the morning. There was someone there next day. Last day there, went back the last morning, early 9 a.m. 2 picked it, left, and was extremely happy.
Yeah, and it's not even just the Big O. There's so many other spots there. There's a crazy ledge setup that I kind of thought about doing a tire ride down, but it's fucking insane, dude. And that was the first day that we got to Montreal for our trip for Space Goats, and I was just kind of like, I'm the filmer, so if I get fucked up right now, like, this whole trip was a waste for everybody. But either way, I was being a pussy. This fucking gap to tires would have been insane. Like, Chad Curley has done like crazy grinds on this ledge, like all these crazy pros, and you don't really see how big it is until you actually go there. Like, that fucking stair set is like easily the size of El Toro, if not bigger, and the ledge is like a 5-foot gap off of the stairs to it. And just seeing like how waxed up and crazy it looks, like, oh my god, it was so crazy. I wish I would have done it, but maybe one day.
But yeah, there's nothing stopping you going back there whenever you want, and maybe someone else will be the filmer for that. Maybe you only want to go for a day or two. It's
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's not over yet. You'll do it when you feel up to it.
Of course. So we got song of the week right now, and then we're gonna get back in with Ben here, and we're gonna talk about some pretty cool shit. And so song of the week is by Illicit, who is friends of the podcast. They're absolutely killing it right now. They're going to be playing festival tomorrow, which is Hope Fest in Kitchener, and then they're also going to be playing Blackout Fest in Brantford in about a month from now, which I've got my tickets for that, so you guys should definitely pick those up. But we got Riptide, their newest single by Illicit.
Cut the slack on the rope and watch it fall. Get a
Alrighty, and we're back. Ben, how does that mic sound now?
Any better?
Oh,
Can you
my
hear me
God.
now?
That is so much louder.
My HD?
Let's see again. Here we
Yep.
go. Okay.
Can you hear me any better now, boys?
I think we're good now. Okay, holy
Where's
shit.
all the comments about how it sounds now?
Yeah, fuck you, Jason. What the fuck, dude? Alrighty. Ben,
Yep.
you have been traveling across Canada in a fucking RV.
Yeah.
Dude, I gotta hear about this shit. Like,
Yeah.
for anybody that's listening right now, my girlfriend Taylor and I have been planning on buying a bus, and we're gonna convert it into a home. And this is our 5-year plan. And to kind of meet you through my friend Neil, who also is from the UK, it's very fucking cool to kind of see you guys live our reality in 5 years. So
It's cool, man. So I put on Facebook that I was moving to Canada, and our friend Neil put me and Cam in touch, and we just both got on really well. So I was explaining my plan is, well, mine and my girlfriend Jess, we were flying into Toronto, gonna buy an RV, and then just travel for a few years. We got a 2-year visa. So we ended up looking at a few motorhomes, and we ended up buying a 1988 Ford Econoline RV, which is great. It's got everything we need. We got like proper bed, we got toilet, shower, cooker, sink, hot water, everything we need. You know, it's good. It's pretty bad on fuel, but you know, we don't pay rent. So we picked it up in Toronto. We went through Ontario. We went through New Brunswick, PEI, Nova Scotia,
Halifax,
yeah,
which
Nova
is part of Nova
Scotia,
Scotia, but
down into Maine, Massachusetts, New York, and back into Toronto. So we've been on the road about 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. It's been good fun, but about a year and a bit ago, a few years ago, I went to visit Vancouver to stay with my friend Steve out there. Well, I didn't stay with him. We hung out. Me and my friend Garth stayed at a hostel. Hung out with my friend Steve. Absolutely loved Vancouver. Thought it was amazing. So I said, right, I definitely want to come to Canada for a few years. And I applied. I ended up breaking up with my ex-girlfriend and knowing at that point, right, now's the time to apply for the visa. Did it, got the visa, and then gave myself a year to save up to come. And in that year, I met my girlfriend Jess, and we were seeing each other, then going out, and we ended up coming over together. I guess we were looking online for RVs and found one on Facebook, and ended up meeting the person. She was quite like us. She really liked us. She didn't want to sell it to just anybody. She turned down offers on it and sold it to us for cheaper than people were offering her, because she thought we treated in the same way that she treated it, which was awesome. And she's actually like really nice person, and we're gonna see her again while we're here. But it just gave us the means to travel as much as we can and see as much of Canada, because the place is awesome. Like, as frustrating as it was in Quebec, not being able to communicate with people, they've got some of the best national parks we've seen so far, and we saw some awesome stuff. So we're just enjoying it, and who knows what's going to happen in the future, but today it's great.
that's awesome, man. It's really cool to hear that you guys have made such a great journey so far. So you landed here about 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Around then?
Almost 8 weeks ago now, because it was the 22nd of July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so a little backtracking here, but how long have you been riding BMX, and how did you start out riding?
I started riding BMX in 2000, so I've been riding 19 years. I had a BMX before that. It was just a cheap department store BMX. I didn't really ride it as a BMX, but then, I don't know, a couple of my friends were into BMX, so I got one. and I was that loud, annoying kid that everyone thought would quit in a few weeks. I didn't, and the people I started with, phased out over periods of time. They're still good friends of mine. Those guys are awesome. They're the people I grew up with back in Ireland, and they've been rad. But yeah, I kind of stuck with it and started hanging out with other guys who were like more established in the Dublin scene in Ireland, and just got really into it, and still stayed annoying and loud, and
That's the key.
that's it. Like I've just got a weird personality, and BMX suits it to me down to the ground, and I've always thought it's just been a cool thing. Not a cool thing to do, but a fun thing to do. Whether you do it every day or whether you do it once a month, you always BMXer and you always have fun.
Oh, of course. What is the BMX scene like in the UK as well as Ireland?
So Ireland's where I grew up and started BMX, and Ireland's got this cool scene. There was a time when I knew every BMXer in Ireland, and now it's become a place where there's so many. Like you could ride down the street, not recognize someone, and it'd be really like, for me it's still unusual at home, but it wouldn't be unusual if I did it here in Canada or in the UK because they seem like such bigger scenes. But Ireland's always had close-knit scenes. There's only ever really been one BMX shop since I've been riding, and that's the Boardroom, which my friend Derek used to run, which sadly closed down a year and a bit ago because of the state of BMX nowadays. But he done so much for the Irish scene, and he helped promote so much stuff, done so much jams, and he basically a scene built around the shop he did. But before that, there was still plenty going on. It was just on a smaller scale, and there were shops before that as well in the 90s and before. But yeah, nowadays it's still got a great scene, great people, and if you ever get a chance to visit, I'd recommend it.
I actually followed quite a bit of the Boardroom just through my friends at No Admittance in Ireland.
Yeah.
Shout out to Andre and everybody over there. But it was actually kind of really sad for me to hear about the Boardroom closing down. And, it's a shop that I've never visited and that I'll never get to visit. But, it's one of those things that it's a part of BMX just dying. And it kind of sucks. Like, a couple months ago, I was really depressed about the state of BMX and how there's really no more print media. There's nothing like that. And for myself, and I know for you as well, like, having something physical that you can hold in your hand is so much more than just having something you can scroll past on your phone. And it sucks, but that's kind of the way that it's moving towards. And there's nothing we can do about it because no matter what, it's a lot easier to get media through a cell phone rather than through a magazine that you have to pay a subscription for every month.
100%, yeah. Because, you can go on Instagram now and look at BMX, and you could be still looking at it in 10 years from now and still not covered half of it. Whereas when I started BMXing, when a magazine came out, the stuff that they're printing happened anywhere between 2 to 6 months ago to build up an article, maybe even years. But it was all still new, and the videos came out. They were being filmed for years and years, and they were still cutting edge. And I know that happens now. People are putting out great full lengths. There's plenty out there, but not as many as there have been. But it's just the way media changes. I'm a collector of the older stuff, like anything 90s or onwards on DVD or VHS. I love. I've got a big VHS collection. I love it. But as much as I feel like you got to get with the times of BMX, I'm still stuck a bit in that past of the 90s and early 2000s. I love it. I think it's got a special time in BMX for me, and I just think BMX has become a bit more clinical these days, but it's still, for me, I still ride, I still do what I do, I still meet good guys and have as much fun as I can.
Yeah, exactly. I think that at the end of the day, BMX is just about all of us riding, and it's difficult because when you start throwing all of these quote-unquote politics
Yeah.
into it, it kind of ruins it. But at the same time, like, at the end of the day, I've done so much filming and so much like stuff towards BMX and jams and everything. But the reason I do it isn't because it helps me get further. It's because I want people to ride. I want to see people have fun. Like,
Exactly.
a big part of why I filmed for so long was just because I really wanted to see people progress. And, you know, it's really cool to kind of experience that person landing something for the first time ever and being like, holy shit, I could fucking do that. You know, it's nice to experience them taking that next step. And I think that that's kind of what people need to focus on nowadays.
That's it. Hitting the goals is what it's all about. Like if you sitting there and sweating something and you send yourself, say, down a handrail and you pull it and you've got that on tape that you can look back on, you'll always feel good about it. And it's one of them things you'll always remember it. And yeah, you kind of want to present that to people. I mean, like nowadays I've slowed down a lot. I'm not filming much. I'm not filming really anything. Just little afternoon sessions of no significance, but I have fun still.
That's all that matters,
And I'll
though,
keep having
right?
fun. Absolutely, yeah. I
Yeah.
know. I know. I've seen guys ride into their 60s. There's guys on some of the groups that I'm on Facebook, and they're riding into their 60s, and they're making effort to travel around the world doing it.
And that's fucking sick, dude.
Exactly.
Honestly, like, I feel that if I'm not riding when I'm in my 60s, I'm going to be a really fucking sad, grumpy person.
Yeah. But it doesn't even have to be riding. Riding would be cool, but as long as you just need to be doing something that
You got to be
engages
part of the
you.
scene, right?
Just got to keep engaged in some form of like something interesting, because BMX, as you know, it's always interesting no matter what's happening. It's interesting.
Yeah. No, exactly. Okay, so what gave you what gave you the idea of buying an RV and moving to Canada?
Basically, I just didn't give a shit anymore. As I said, I broke up with my ex. I'd always thought about it anyway, and I just thought to myself, I was 32 at the time. 32 or 33 anyway. And the eldest I can be being an Irish citizen to get a work and holiday visa for Canada was 35. So I thought, well, I kind of have to apply now or I might not get it. So I applied, thinking it might take 6 months to get. Went to bed, woke up, checked my emails. I had an email saying, okay, you've been accepted. I was like, okay. I don't have the money yet. So I spent the next year just saving like crazy to do it. Saved up enough money. And then in that time, me and my girlfriend Jess got a lot closer because we hadn't been seeing each other for that long. And we made the decision to do it together and put our money together. And I don't care where I live, but I care what I experience. And the best way to do that, I guess, in a van or an RV, and you get to see as much or as little as you want. You get to go where you want or not go where you want. You're not stuck to anyone's time scales, and yeah, it's absolutely fun. We've got our own space. We've got our own stuff. We've got somewhere to put our stuff. We can stay almost wherever we want. We've been asked to leave a couple of times, but not the end of the world. But yeah, it's great. I'm a person who has a lot of stuff. I collect bikes, I collect videos, I collect this, that, the other. But in the RV, I've just got clothes and my bike and my iPod and stuff like.
And a lot of memories.
Exactly, yeah, a lot of memories. There's some better than others, but it's memories, and I'll remember all the time. But the fact, basically, I was pushed into it because I was 33, had to get my visa before I was 35. And I knew I was going to put it off for a year. So I'm 34 now and I moved over. So it's basically a matter of time before I could or couldn't do it. And that's what pushed me. I needed to do it. And living in an RV is just fun. It's not permanent. I don't claim to be living a perfect life. But it's fun for now. And we'll get a place when we settle somewhere.
Oh, exactly. So
Yeah.
there you go. Is your plan to move to Canada permanently then?
Me personally, I want to get permanent residency and live on the west coast in BC, somewhere around Vancouver, North Van, anywhere like that. Somewhere I can just ride and live comfortably. I don't need a lot of money, just enough to get by, enough to have a nice place. Ride when I need to, and be near the mountains, be near the sea. It's great. But yeah, I'd really like to stay in Canada. Jess, she's not been to Canada before, so she doesn't 100% know what she wants to do. So I'll just go along, see what she wants to do, and when the time comes, we'll talk it out and see what works out best. But I've always said if it doesn't work out here, I'll live it. I just want to live in a different country. I'm done with Ireland now. I'm done with the UK. Wherever's next is next. I'll do it.
I hate this saying so fucking much, but you only live once, and why would you just stay in one place, right?
I get it, but sometimes the one place you want to stay in is brilliant, but it's the people who are afraid to try new stuff, which I find difficult to deal with. But again, it's not my life. If they want to do that, fine. Some people are happy with it, but just check something else out and see what else you might enjoy. If not, no worries. At least you've tried.
Exactly. So, where have you been so far in Canada then?
Right, we flew into Toronto, and then so from Toronto, we went over and bought the RV in Stouffville, and then drove to Gatineau, just on the other side of the river from Ottawa. Hung out there for a few days. The first day I had the truck, I reversed into a pole and put a big dent in the back of the tow bar in the hitch. Yeah, hung out there for a bit. Had a drink with a few skaters who were staying in their van by there while they were working. Then we drove to Montreal, stayed at a trailer park for a few days, got to ride a bit in Montreal, and then just stayed at a few other places up at Lac Saint John, and I don't even know. Just places around Quebec. We've been to a ton of national parks, Farillon, House Gorges, Grand Jardins, Jacques Cartier, Saguenay. Saw lots of wildlife, whales, and just bits and pieces. And then we went around New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia. We went down to Maine, Massachusetts, New York. Saw my buddy Phil in Rochester, and he was awesome at helping us fix the RV, which I'm sure we'll go into a bit later. But and then one of my favorite things we did was I went to see FBM, because like when I started riding, those guys were what I was into. Still riding FBM now. And John Lee and Mike Erb were absolutely awesome when we went in there. They were happy to show me and talk to me, spend the time with me, and yeah, they're the nicest guys. And they all, like, as much as I've spoken to them by email before, they've just been rad, and can't recommend those guys enough.
So, to kind of talk about this FBM stuff a little bit,
Yeah.
how did this all come to be? Because, like, for myself, I just feel like they probably don't let every fucking person that wants a tour of FBM in there. Like, this is where they create stuff. Like, I get it. Like, you should show them, but they have shit to do, man. Like, how did this come to be?
Yeah, I was conscious of that they've got stuff to do. And I think I spent 2 hours there, which is probably a lot longer than I planned to. I guess I got carried away myself at the end. But I don't know. I can't speak for them, but I've got the feeling that they would let anybody who wanted a tour have a tour, because not that many people are making the trip over to have the tour. It's in Ithaca. It's not New York City.
Right.
It's hours and hours away. It's, people aren't in Ithaca going, oh, I'll go to FBM. But I think the guys who are into FBM make the effort, and they do an open house. So, like, they get people to come along on an open house to view the place. And, those guys aren't huge. They've got their space, and it's awesome. And they're putting out some of the best product in BMX. and some of the best vibes in BMX. They're like promoting BMX quite heavily. But yeah, I think they might let anyone who asks see it because they're not getting the request daily. But I could be wrong, so don't hold me to that if they don't let someone see it. But yeah, I think not that I have a relationship with FBM, but I talk to them quite a bit about getting my own custom frame, and I collect it a lot. So I've spoken to John a little bit, and yeah, he seemed happy for me to come along. So I was more than happy to turn up and have the experience, and I absolutely loved every second of it.
There you go. I was actually going to ask about your custom frame. So when did you do that? And like getting a custom frame is so much different. Like I feel like, you know, myself personally, I've only ever ridden frames that are kind of mass produced by companies. Like the frame that I'm riding right now is a Cult Chase Hawk frame, and I would love to support Cult because they're just a all around great company. Like Robbie Morales runs this company super well, and you can kind of see like that with the team they have, they give a fuck about BMX, and they're not just doing it for the money, but also they know what works, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they put a lot out, like, and I think Robbie, obviously he's been around forever and he's been respected forever, and he's fantastic racer, great trail rider. He's super stylish. He's got his BMX legend status for a reason. Cult, yeah, they're still heavily invested in BMX. You know, it's awesome to see. But for me, I got a custom frame. I was riding an FBM before that. I was riding a Bell, which is one of Tom Blythe's frames, and I loved it. But I cracked it. But it wasn't anywhere structural. It was just on the cap on the chain stays. So it didn't make any difference, but I just got in my head, all right, now it's time. Now I legitimize that I'm going to buy myself a custom frame. And people were like, oh, you should get Michael Aird to build it. And I was like, yeah, he makes good stuff. You know, I've got no problem with that. He makes a lot of frames for the top pros, and they're cool. Like he's a great frame builder. But I want FBM to build it because I've always liked FBM. I've always supported FBM wherever I can. And for me, they put out such a big ethos in BMX, something that I like to follow. I don't know if ethos is the right word, but I just want to support them, and yeah, I'd get my next frame from them as well. But to build something to your specification is quite cool. I know it can be done, and you know, I'll pay the extra money for it. It's not a huge amount extra, and you get exactly what you want. So why not? There are frames out there that I could have bought off the shelf, but I'll pay my money to support who I feel are worth supporting in BMX.
Yeah, that's actually a really good statement. I really like what FBM has done with their company, and you know, it's really cool to have something custom built instead of just off the shelf. And I think FBM is like, especially because of Steve Crandall and you know, all the stuff they did with props and road fools. If you're over the age of, you know, 24 and you watch BMX stuff, you'll know all about them. And I feel like 90% of the people would be willing to, you know, anybody that takes BMX seriously is willing to give them their money because they are absolutely unreal at what they do. Like, they've always been not there for the money, but for BMX, if that makes sense.
Yeah, those guys live and breathe BMX. They live and breathe fun. Yeah. They know what they're doing. No one's getting rich off BMX really these days.
Of course not. Like, even the, you know, like, even like the people like it sounds so dumb, but like even Harry Main, like a couple years ago, you would see all the crazy cars that they're driving and stuff like that. But I heard a little bit of a rumor that some of those people, they're actually just leasing them from a company that they're sponsored by, and you know, it's part of the lifestyle that they're trying to portray. And
yeah, maybe. I mean, I've heard mixed stories. I've heard that. I've heard people have bought like supercars outright. Who know? Unless like I've met Harry a few times. He's always been really nice to me. I've always got on well with him. People have bad things to say about him, but no, he's a nice guy. He'll chat to you. He's offered to help me out in BMX, like trying to get me through sets of jumps that I didn't feel confident on. But who knows who's buying or leasing or what in BMX? It's the same
Who
as any
cares,
industry. Yeah,
really,
exactly.
right?
Like if someone's making a living off it, they're making a living off it. However they choose to spend their money, or whoever they choose to represent, that's up to them. I mean, I still know what I like, and that's not going to change.
Exactly. So, next question for you. Has there been any big slip-ups with the RV at all?
Yep, tons.
Oh, boy.
I can't remember where I was. It must have been like Gatineau in Quebec. The first slip up was when we bought the RV. Within minutes of us buying it, Jess tried to close a window from the outside and snapped the brackets, so now that window doesn't open.
Fucking Jess.
That's a blip on the radar compared to what happened after that. The next one was, I've never driven anything this big, so I pulled into a petrol station and I pulled too close to the petrol pump, so I tried to like move away from it and ended up pulling the pump clean off the nozzle clean off the pump. Luckily, fuel wasn't spraying out, and the guy at the petrol station just didn't care. He was about 19, 20. He was the manager there at the time. He didn't care, so I didn't care. That was pull the pump off it, but we ended up ripping a big chunk of the trim off the back of the RV. So we taped it up and drove off, and then once I calmed down a bit, bought some waterproof tape, taped it up, and then I fixed it since, so that's not so big an issue. I backed into a pole and like bent the hitch. That was pretty bad. The skaters who were like camping at the same spot were having a good laugh at that as well. Backed into a fire hydrant in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And I hit a telegraph pole in Salem, Massachusetts, which ripped the front of the RV off. But luckily, my friend Phil in Rochester, who does Fabwell Studios, he just looked at it and goes, "Oh, we'll fix that in an afternoon." I was like, "There's no way," and he fixed that in a few hours, and more than grateful for Phil for that. Known Phil for years, since like when he lived in Liverpool, and I used to come visit him and Jason and that all the time. And he was amazing, and he basically the whole RV, the front of it was gone. It was torn apart. We were gonna have to cut it out and like lose that section until Phil fixed it. I ripped the front off the RV.
That's awesome.
It's been. I've had some shitty accidents, but we've got through there, and now it's back to like perfect almost again. So we're getting on again, and happy to do it.
It should be fine from now on, which is nice, and like a huge shout out to Phil for helping you guys out, because it really sucks that like everything that happened, but what do you do, right? At least you've got a good guy like him to help you out. So anybody that's from Rochester, just fucking go to Phil. Help a brother out, man. He is fully willing to help others, and that's awesome.
Yeah, man, he was rad.
So any spots that you got to hit up that you were super excited about?
Definitely the Big O. Like I say, I saw that in FPM All Time Low. I saw George Santos riding it, and straight away all I knew was I wanted to toothpick it. And I turned up first day. There was a couple of skaters there. They were older guys, so I knew they'd have a problem with pegs, because it seems to be an issue over this side of the Atlantic. Yeah, I peg grinded it, and they were saying, "Oh, no pegs." Like, fair enough. I'll just do airs. Next day I turned up. I got there, and as I got there, a skater got there, and I thought, right, I'll do the same again. I'll just ride it, because I don't care. I can ride it and not peg it. And then our last day in Montreal, it's like saying, right, I just need to spend an hour here in the morning. Let's get there at 9. I'll be fine. Rolled up at 9. Rode it for an hour. Done what I want to do and left, and was absolutely delighted with it. So over this side, I don't really know too much. There's Joyride, which is somewhere I want to ride. I've not got to yet, but I'll be there probably next week, so I can't wait for that. But yeah, as I get to Vancouver, there's spots I want to ride again. I can't wait for that. Vancouver, and then we're going to be in Oregon and Montana and Idaho, and there's lots of spots around there. So yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yeah, that sounds fucking awesome. Like, the Big O is 100% one of my like favorite spots I've ever hit up. And for people that don't know what it is, it's essentially a full pipe that's shaped like an oval, but then there's a cutout that's shaped like a little half pipe. And it is such a really cool spot in Montreal. And if you're ever in Montreal around the Olympic Stadium, you've got to stop by and see it. It's super legendary. It's been in a ton of videos, and it's the perfect street transition. It's exactly,
it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's exactly like a quarter pipe. And, you know, seeing you do a toothpick on it was mind blowing. I don't know why, but I think just if you ride that quarter and you ride that transition, you understand how steep it is and how fucked it is to actually go into a tooth on it. Like, I had some kind of mediocre tricks that I had planned for it, and I didn't even try those because it was fucking gnarly.
I just really enjoyed being there. I'd have ridden it for hours longer, but yeah, I didn't get to because time and that. But loved it, and I've been to some good parks since as well. But yeah, dream spots, the Big O, and then when I get to Vancouver, yeah, there's some spots there and places dotted about. But if I don't get to ride them, I don't get to ride them either. So we'll just see what happens. I'll have a good time either way.
Hell yeah. How are you doing on your beer over there?
I'm alright for a little bit now.
Alrighty. Well, we're going to play another song from Illicit, because those guys are really dope. This is Chuck by Illicit.
I can grab another beer for us if you want.
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Sure.
I'm always trying to let the thoughts
Alrighty, and we're back. That was Chuck by Illicit. Check them out soon if you can. You should probably just check them out immediately because they're fucking awesome. And Ben, how's that second beer going there?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I picked it up on PEI and it's been in the van for a couple of weeks. So it's good to actually get stuck into it.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm.
So speaking of PEI, but not really speaking of PEI,
Yeah.
how was Quebec? How difficult was it?
It was really difficult. Like, I was told it'd be difficult there. I guess my issue was that Canada's bilingual. So anywhere else in Canada, you've got French and English. So fair enough, everyone gets to understand. But when you're in Quebec, there's no English. Like, none of the signs are in English. It's not bilingual. It's purely French. I can speak a little bit of French. I've been to France many times. Got a lot of French friends. But I can't hold my own there. So trying to do things was really difficult. Trying to get help was difficult. And yeah, it was just sort of like being in France and no one wanted to speak English. But well, obviously we survived. They've got some of the best national parks there. We went to some awesome places. But day to day in Quebec is difficult. But it's easier to buy beer there than it is in Ontario, so that's fine. I like that.
So whenever I go to Quebec, I typically go to Montreal, and I always feel like a fucking toddler because I just don't know how to like speak French at all. So I'll just be sitting there at a restaurant. I'm like, I want this one, the photo. I want this.
Yeah.
And half the time they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, but
No,
yeah.
I get that. Like, I think when we got to Montreal, we went to it was an RV park on like on a boat lot. So like we parked up there. We had to get a ferry into Montreal, which we did, and that was easy to do. We went to some veggie or vegan place or whatever, and you know they knew what we were talking about. We went, we done some tourist stuff, and yeah, it was fun. We didn't really go in anywhere. We just looked about. But Montreal was okay, and we went on a night out. And most places, if we were ordering drinks, of course they spoke English because they wanted to engage with us and get us what we wanted, so they get tips. So they all spoke English. It was fine. We went out, like, it was Pride weekend there as well, so there was a lot going on. And we went to some good we went to some good cocktail bars, and they were great. We went to like a burlesque show, and that was great as well. But when you're in the smaller towns in Quebec, it's difficult to get people to want to speak to you in English, and it can be really hard. Like when you need something and you just can't communicate, and you just get frustrated and sort of lose it every once in a while. And yeah, shit happens. But yeah, it wasn't the most enjoyable experience in the world, but they made up for it by having fantastic landscape and animals and stuff to do. So if you don't have to talk to anyone, it's brilliant.
That's definitely a very acceptable answer. But this is going to be a little uncomfortable, but let's talk money.
Yeah.
How did you make this happen? What kind of job do you work? What kind of job does Jess work? How much did this cost you? Let's talk with the RV, everything.
Yeah, I mean...
let's just start out with what kind of work you do, and we'll go from there.
So I moved from Ireland to the UK in 2007. And I done a year university in 2007 in Wolverhampton. After that, I moved to Norway for a few months and then moved back to the UK, and I lived in Leeds since about September 2008. So before I left Ireland, I was working in insurance, but not really. I was just like an admin in insurance. And then when I got to the UK and started working, I worked at telephone banking. I quit there, and then I got a job in mortgages at a different bank. and then eventually became a mortgage advisor. So I had a lot of opportunity to save up. I can't really remember how much I saved up in the end. It was probably about £12,000, and we ended up buying the RV for $8,000 plus tax plus registration. So let's call it 9,000 altogether dollars Canadian, which is probably about, well, if the pound is 1.6 Canadian dollars, you can work it out yourself. So yeah, so it didn't work out too expensive to get the actual RV. But then we had to kit it out. We had to buy like storage, cutlery, pots and pans. Spend a few hundred on that. The GPS was like a few hundred. But I think we're both still doing well on money. I had a great opportunity to save up. I was a mortgage advisor. I had a good wage. Jess was working at a bar, but she's also an artist. She hand paints signs for like coffee shops, for restaurants, for bars. She does commissions, nice like traditional hand painted script work. So she's really good at that, and she was doing that alongside her bar work. And the only reason she wasn't fully self-employed doing the sign writing is because there's not necessarily work to do every day on it, but she's incredibly talented, and I've paid her to do a lot of work for me and solve a lot of places and leads. So we built our money up that way, and while yeah, we've been burning through it quite a lot because the RV's not so good on fuel, I think we've got more than enough to last us until the winter. We'll work through the winter and then just spend our money while the weather's good and work when it's bad. I think that's the plan, really.
Yeah, that's it's really cool to hear that, man. Like, a big thing for Tay and I right now is that we're just working jobs that kind of, no matter what, you end up being paycheck to paycheck, and it sucks because my passion is to start a TV show, and we're working on it, like my friend Rob and I, and it's tough, but no matter what, you can't get ahead until you're kind of there, if that makes sense. And we're going to get there, I know that, but
it is difficult because when I started my job in mortgages, I started on £15,000 a year, which isn't that much in the UK. And I worked that for 3 years. And after 3 years, I was on £16,000. So realistically, by the time price had gone up, I was probably on less than what I started on. And then the mortgage industry in the UK changed, and they had to have everyone do it professionally with advice. So I applied, got the job, done my training, passed it all, and then I got like a 10, 11 grand pay rise, and suddenly I had all this money, and I just saved it and saved it and saved it. I spent tons of it on bikes, and you know, like tons and tons of money on bikes, but I've enjoyed it, so I don't care. And I've spent tons of it on traveling, which is even better. And then in the past year and a half, I've saved as much as I could. I've lived tight as fuck, and I just wanted money because I knew this would be the end game, and I knew I'd get to enjoy it so much.
So to kind of go back there for a second, what's up with your mid-school collection, and how did that start out, and where's everything right now since you're in Canada?
So I remember being back in Dublin on a visit one time, and I got a notification saying my friend Street Dave invited me to a page called Mid-School BMX Days. Street Dave's like awesome guy from the UK. He rides a lot of street, advocate of 4 pegs. He's had a break for all of a couple of months when he started BMXing in the mid-90s. A lot of Louisville guys will know him because he lived there for a year. He's the nicest guy in he's the nicest guy in BMX, and he's got your back. He's awesome. I can't remember where I was going with that. What was the question again?
So I was asking.
Oh, mid-school bikes, yeah.
Mid-school bikes.
Yeah, so he invited me to that page. So I was like watching it, and I saw some cool stuff I was into. And this guy like posted an FBM night train for sale: frame, fork, stem, sprocket, the hip flask. It's like, nah, I like it, but it's too much money for me. I don't want that. I'll never use it. And it was on sale for a few months, and it was actually about like September, October. He invited me. Then I was home for like December, and I had a bit of money unexpectedly. I thought I just put on like Instagram. Oh, I'm no collector, but should I buy this? And everyone was like, yeah. I just went, right, I'll buy it. I just bought it. I was like, right, so I'll just build that up. That'll be nice. Building that up. And then a friend of mine messaged me, I've got an Angel of Death. I was like, well, of course I want an Angel of Death. Because classic bike from the time I started riding. And then it just spiraled from there. And I picked up some good bikes. Like my favorite's my Homeless Mac. I've spoken to Eben Cracker about it, and Alex Leach, who knows the original owner of this bike I have. But we think it's like a 1993 Homeless Mac. I think they've done a first generation where the stays were skinnier, and a second where they're a bit fatter. And then they've done the next generation with the drop wishbone. But mine's like the original dirt bike style, and I absolutely love it. But I've got that, and I've got a few other really nice stuff that I enjoy.
That's awesome, man. And one day I would like to start collecting kind of mid-school stuff, and I feel like I should really just get on it soon, because in a while from now it's going to be a lot harder to find that stuff. But right now I like collecting records. Like, that's just my thing, and I know it's hipster as fuck, but
it's
I
all right
enjoy it.
though. But it's because it's what you enjoy, and like if you can collect things that mean that to you or sound good to you, and you can like pick out what you want when you want, then it makes sense. It's never a waste of money if it's what you want.
Well, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So this is definitely going to be a little off topic, but earlier you let me know that you're vegan. How did that start out, and why?
Yeah, I'm definitely not eating meat and animal stuff. I might not always be vegan, but I'm doing my best at the minute. I guess like a few years ago, I was eating meat and dairy and everything. I'm a fussy eater, so it's just easy to eat meat. And then I got to a point where I was like, right, well, I'm gonna stop where I can, and I barely cooked any meat at home, but I'd eat it when I ate out, which is maybe once a month, twice a month. Or if I was out drinking, I'd maybe get something on a night out. But at home, I'd just cook veg or fake meat and stuff like that. And I'd eat pretty well. In the UK, it's cheap to eat good. Like, if you want to eat veg, it's cheap. You go to Aldi. I used to do my weekly shopping for £30 a month. It's great. And I thought, like, I'm not going to preach to anyone, say they're right or wrong for eating what they want or doing what they want. Like, but for me, I try to do as little harm as I can. I'm not saying I'm completely cruelty free, but I guess I've cut down quite a bit, and it might not always be that way, but I just like animals a lot. I had a dog, and I always thought, like, well, if I love him so much, why should any other animal be different? But I get, like, I'm not going to change everybody's mind. Some people are just going to want to eat meat, and that's fine. Some people will hunt. I've got a lot more respect for people who hunt and eat than maybe like supermarket bought meat, because the animals in the supermarket meat will have been miserable all their life, whereas at least people who hunt, the animals will have a chance to enjoy themselves, and you'd like to think a hunter would use as much of an animal as possible rather than the amount of waste a supermarket generates. So it's a weird one for me. I try to see things from all angles, but I just wanted to do as little harm as I could, and I guess that's how it's going right now. And if it doesn't in the future, so be it. We'll see what happens.
You know, I can completely agree with that. I've actually been really considering, you know, doing a vegan diet for not forever, but just for a little while, just to try it out, because I feel like it would be kind of cool to just see what it's like to live that way. And I kind of agree with you, like, it's really dumb and a lot of people wouldn't really think this way, but ever since I got my rabbits, I kind of think about that as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's really weird, but people do eat rabbits here, and
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so not okay. Like, I love these fucking things as much as anything else in the world. Like, very young, but I didn't really know, right?
Exactly,
Like,
because it just depends what you thought. But at the end of the day, people who do eat it, it's not that they're wrong for doing it. It's just a different way of approaching things. And maybe they'll eat the whole rabbit and then use the skin for something else. And at least they've made the most of that, because let's face it, you can't, like, if you left rabbits to do whatever they wanted, you'd be overrun with rabbits.
oh, exactly.
Yeah. So there's, you know, I've not so much got a problem with people eating animals. I just don't want to do it myself.
No, that's completely fair. I agree with that. So, we got 2 more questions for you. The second last one. Oh, sorry.
All right. We've had a few beers.
The second last one here is, how was the adjustment of moving into an RV from wherever you guys were living before, which I would only assume is an apartment?
No, well, I lived in quite a nice house. So
Okay, never mind. I'm an asshole.
a friend of mine, she bought a house and I moved into it.
It's a really good friend.
Yeah, I've obviously paid her rent.
Yeah, of
so you walked in, and you had like a little front garden, not too big. You walk up a set of steps. You walk in, you had like a living room, and then in the back was a big kitchen, and there was a bit of a back garden at the back.
Yeah.
And then the next floor up was the bathroom, and then there was her bedroom, and a spare bedroom next to the bathroom. And then you go up the stairs, and there was my bedroom, and I had a spare bedroom, so I had tons of space. Not to mention the basement, which was the size of the whole floor plan of the house, and I had half for my bikes as well. So
Right.
I had lots of space there. But then I knew I was moving, so I sent all my stuff back to Dublin. It's in my sister's attic. It's in my mum's attic. So when I got to the RV, I knew what it was going to be like. So I just brought my clothes, my bike, and a couple of electronics, like not much, like an iPod and just stuff to listen to music on. So I was all right with it. And Jess she brought mostly the same, but a few more things than I did. And I'm thinking like, why did you bring that? You could have got that here. You could have got that there. You could have brought something different. But at the end of the day, it's not an issue. But it's not been a difficult transition. I don't live to excess. I can easily. Like if I've got the opportunity, I will live to excess. I will make the most of everything I have. I've got a big room. I'll fill it full of bikes. But an RV is an RV. Live in it. Crash it into a pole. Get your mate to fix it, and yeah, it's all good. Like it's fun.
Oh,
It's
fuck.
really fun. It gives you discipline. You can't have too much. You don't want too much. You just want to enjoy. Because we've not, like, very rarely do we sit around in it and do nothing. We are always doing something, which is the big change from back home where you could sit at home for a few hours. You just want to be out. Not that there's anything wrong with the RV, but it just gives you that motivation to get up early and go out and do stuff and be active, which is what we're both happy with.
Hell yeah, man. That is definitely a really good answer for that. And, the last question that I have here is a pretty simple one, potentially, but it might be kind of difficult.
I'll do my best.
Tell us the top 5 places you've been to Canada so far. Now, for people that are listening, Ben has only explored really southern Ontario and the east side of Canada. You have not been to the west side yet. So what are the 5 top places you've been to so far?
So I've not been to the west side on this trip, but I have been to the west side like 5 years ago. But on this trip, top 5 places, Foreland National Park was awesome. So was Hout's Gorges. They probably sound better if I was French, but they were both great. I guess like the Dartmouth Halifax area was quite nice. Had lots of good bars and breweries. Got the opportunity to have a few beers there. I mean, Toronto's been like I didn't realize that I'd enjoy Toronto as much as I did. It was awesome, but it's hard to say. Like I love cities, but I equally love just being out and about in nature, like parked up in the middle of nowhere. I think my favorite place is also my least favorite place that I've been to in Canada. So one night we were driving from a spot, and we've got an app and we've got a couple of apps on our phones which tell us free places to park for the night that can accept an RV, and they don't charge, and they've got facilities or whatever you need to know. They'll tell you about it. So we ended up going to it. At this point in time, we didn't have any lights on the back of the RV, so I didn't want to drive in the dark, and it was sunset. It was difficult to drive, and we ended up finding the place, and it turned out to be a single track road in the middle of nowhere in Quebec. So I followed it down. It kept getting on different levels, so the truck was like tipping, and I had to like keep it straight, like going as slow as possible, and I was freaking out. And we ended up getting to this like beautiful plateau in the middle of an abandoned park, and we parked there, and it was beautiful. We saw seals in the morning. They were in the bay, overlooking like cliff edges. It looked fantastic, and I was just stressing, how the hell am I going to get out of here, because that was so hard to get into. So yeah, I just enjoying where we were. We tried to get out, we tried to look, but it turns out because the RV we bought is just like it's a 7.6 litre van, it can just go up whatever it wants. So it was piss easy to get out of. But I was stressing so hard. So that turned out to be both the best and the worst place I stayed. And that probably still stays number 1 for me at the minute.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I can't remember where it was, what it was, anything about it. I just know I was stressed as fuck. And the second I pulled out of it, I was just relieved and happy and had a great day. And then I went and saw a lot of fossils after that. So it was good.
Well, Ben, I wish you guys luck on the rest of your journey. And I'm hoping that when you guys finish your journey, we can get both of you on here to talk about the whole entire trip.
I don't think we'll ever finish it. I think it'll always be going on, but...
Well, that's awesome.
I'll come back anytime, definitely. 100%.
Hell yeah. Well, cheers, man.
Absolutely.
Fucking thank you for coming on. Thank you for talking about your journey so far.
Anytime.
And next, we got the Thirsty Guys and Omnigon. Check it out. Peace.
We're not playing fast, not playing fast, not playing fast. We're not playing fast, not playing fast, not playing fast. Hit the road, play some shows, wonder why nobody knows. Publicists
of perspective, a moment of confusion. There's no need for us to fight, we can find our own solution. Just a difference of perspective, a moment of confusion. There's no need for us to fight, we can find our own solution. Pat yourself on the back, the empathy you lack for someone just like you. Tell yourself it's okay to act this way while your enemies are pushing through. Wrong word, wrong time, missing out a lot. Did they really mean to try to upset you? What was the intent? Was it meant as disrespect? Take the time to see another view. It's just a difference of perspective, a moment of confusion. There's no need for us to fight, we can find our own solution. Just a difference of perspective, a moment of confusion. There's no need for us to fight.